Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
It's that time again. It is time for our weekly reading wrap up, or what we like to call our bestie book tea. So grab your favorite beverage. I have my giant cup of tea this morning. What do you have?
Coffee.
Good girl. And you like that? Good girl. The look on your face. And your favorite coaster. And let's spill the tea. Mandy got a coaster.
I got a coaster at Love in Seattle. Oh, but it's over there. Next time we'll be ready.
Exactly. So sit down with us while we spill the tea, and we'll give you our books that we read this week with 1 minute synopsis. So let's do this. Okay. So Mandy, how was your reading week?
My reading week was fantastic, but I think our viewers would like to hear about how if they hit that subscribe button, they might win a fun book.
I forget about this every time. Thank God you're there for me. Okay. Maybe when we're old and gray, it'll benefit us, like in the nursing home, being able to. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are still doing our road to 1K giveaway. The next level is 250. So when we hit 250 subscribers, we'll be giving away the discreet cover of Elsie Silver's Flawless. And we did get that signed by Elsie for you guys when we were in Seattle last weekend. Hit the subscribe button. And what else, Mandy? Following us on Instagram.
Okay. Make sure to also follow us on Instagram for an extra like, and share our posts. Get your friends involved so they have a chance to win as well. And like Jessica said, this is our road to 1K giveaway. So we also have giveaways at 500, 750, and 1,000. So there's lots of chances to win just by hitting that subscribe button and liking and following us on Instagram.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. Like, I'm anxious for Love in Vegas. I'm hoping we hit those numbers before Love in Vegas so that we can get something cool there.
I have been busy working on my Love in Vegas.
She's highlighting again, folks. She's highlighting.
I am.
Okay, so now.
Hey, do not laugh at me. The first thing you asked me when we got to Love in Seattle was, did you bring a highlighter?
I did, because I didn't bring a highlighter for mine, but I'm going to highlight mine. I've printed that copy off like 3 or 4 times because they keep adding people, and then I keep making notes on it, and then I have to print it off again. So it's okay. Yeah. Okay, Mandy. So tell me, how was your reading week?
It was pretty good. I read 8 books this week, but 2 were a duet. 1 was a book, and then the second book was the novella that like accompanied that book, and then 3 were a trilogy. Okay. So I don't probably have much to talk about, but I did read 8 books.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like me. I read 9 books this week, and then 2 of them.
Always have to outdo me.
Always
competitive.
We were not this competitive when we were younger. It's just sad. Anyhow, 2 of them were a part of the trilogy. I know it's the same thing that you're reading. I didn't read the 3rd one yet. And then the other.
I have summers off.
I know. and then the are you okay?
I just came very close to spewing coffee all over Jay's computer.
You would know.
And that would not go well since I'm like borrowing it. And I'm like, here's your computer.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Please
so
tell me about your reading week.
Yes. And then there was another thing that I read that was the 2 books were in the same series. And it's I think there's supposed to be 4 in this total series. So basically, instead of reading 9, I have 7 to talk about.
Fantastic.
Right? That math adds up. That math's correctly, right?
Sure.
7, I think so. So I guess I will start.
Yep. Okay. Ready? I got the timer.
You got my timer? Okay. So I read the first 2 books in the Boys of Belrose series, and this is by Jamin Eve and Tate James. I love Tate James. She does reverse harem the right way. I actually know who people are in this book. So this is about Billy Belrose and her gang of boys. So this is like mafia meets rock star. So all her boys are rock stars. The band is named Belrose after her because the main, like the lead singer of the band is her ex. And I guess despite her, he named the band after her. But she has 3 boys in the band that she's got a relationship with. And then the 4th guy is mafia. He's from a mafia family, and the mafia is after her. She hides out with the band. The band wants to keep her. Mafia's coming together. It was really good. I gave it 4 solid 4 stars for both. I do love Tate James, so maybe that's why, but I need to finish it out. So there's 2 more books.
Did you practice that?
No, why?
Because you got it like right on.
Yes, I sit around practicing my 1-minute talks.
I knew it. You're trying to show me up.
Yeah, I sit in front of the mirror.
You're like, I will not let Mandy bring up the sticks and stones incident again.
You can bring it up all you want. My middle child used to sit in front of the mirror and practice crying and watching herself cry.
Well, that's
I learned to do it from her. Knowing her, though, it makes sense. Okay, so tell me about yours.
Okay, so mine is a duet, so I'll just talk once because the first book and the second book like just go together. It's not even like there's a second book. They just keep on trucking on. So it's Whatever It Takes and Wherever You Are by Krista and Becca Ritchie. They're sisters. They'll actually be at Love in Vegas. So this was a 4-star read. Both of them were 4 stars for me. I really enjoyed it. Or just a few things. So it's about Willow and Garrison. And in the very first thing that happens in book 1 is Willow is in London. She's left Garrison, like the love of her life, back home. She's 20 and she's going to London to go to school. And it takes us like a while to figure out exactly why that makes sense. And so we start there, then we go back to when they first meet, and then we like jump back to the present and back and forth and back and forth. And honestly, I would have probably enjoyed it a lot more if we would have just started at then. And then when she leaves, there would have been like this angst and like feelings about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that he's like a bad boy and there's like hints of things that he's done, but I didn't really get like the bad boy feeling from him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you remember a while ago when I was like, I would just really like to read a story about a couple that gets together and that's that?
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of drama.
Were you bored with that?
That's the story. Like things happen to them personally, but nothing happens to their relationship really. Does that make sense? Even though they're apart for a while because she's in London, he's still here in the States. So it's just, I don't know. It was still really good, but like trying to figure out exactly what it was about, I'm like, I don't know. I think I got my wish and I listened to this story.
And then you were like, maybe I was wrong. I need some drama. But obviously, you got your wish and it didn't work.
It was a 4-star read though. I still enjoyed it. I just can't really tell you. It was just about this couple. I did read in a review that they have an Addicted series and these 2 are side characters in that. And somebody's like, while this is a standalone, if you read the Addicted series, and I think it's the Calloway sisters, those 2 series, then these 2 books make a lot more sense. But I don't know.
Okay. I've heard of those series too. So yeah, maybe they're right. I have one too that I really can't really tell you a lot about. Same thing. So,
are you ready?
I'm ready. Okay, so I read Savage Vandal by Heather Long. This is a book that we got from Love in Seattle. It's supposed to be dark, which yes, it has dark elements. It's reverse harem. She's a silk dancer. There's some elements of her being abused by someone in the dance team that she's in. Basically this is about Emerson and these guys. I still don't really know what these guys were doing. They're like undercover there for some reason, and they take her when they see that she's being abused, like, and she almost dies because one of her silks gets cut or something, and then they take her. I'm still confused as to who is who in this book. unfortunately. And it just didn't hold my interest, and maybe that's why I was confused. There was nothing wrong with the writing at all. It just didn't hold my interest like I thought it would. So it was really disappointing for me. I really wanted to like it, but it didn't work.
I'm totally convinced you've been practicing now.
Yeah, in front of a mirror. Yeah, it was so sad because I wanted to like that. It had like all the tropes where I'd have been like, I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then no.
All right. So my next book is one you've been begging me to read for a long time. And I like complained to you not that long ago because I was just reading like 3-star, 4-star. Nothing was like, oh my gosh, for me. Which actually, when I look back to see all the books I've read in April, that was a total lie. I had some really great ones, but I think they were too much at the beginning of April. So I was just in this slump. And so when you think about the fact that we're reading like 7+ books a week, like if the last week worth of books just weren't wowing you, like that's
it feels like it's the whole month.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was telling you, I'm like, you know what I miss? I just miss the days when I would call you and you would be like, read Surviving Trace. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, read Birthday Girl. And I'm like, you've changed my life. Read like Carrie Ann Cole, you know? And I'm like, I really miss that. And you're like, there's still some books. Have you read Transcendence? I've been telling you to read that for a year.
I was throwing them out there. There is still a list of books that you have not read that could give you those vibes. So you just call me whenever.
Okay, so I read Transcendence by Shay Savage. Goodness, it is a 5-star read for me and is now one of my favorites.
Yes. Yay!
Okay. Yes. So let me tell you about it, Jessica.
Okay.
Okay, so Transcendence is like a book I've never read before, I've ever even heard of, except for when Jessica's talked to me about it. So this starts off with Ed. He is a caveman living back in caveman times, but we never actually get like a specific time. But he is back really far back in caveman times. And the author explains some things at the beginning of her book about how he does not have all of the brain language development in his brain as humans do this to this day, like in present time. So while he is still very smart and able to have emotions and things like that, he is not able to have language communication. And his tribe has been completely wiped out, so he's all alone. So we already kind of feel for him, like he's struggling with like, what is the point right now? And he goes to his animal pit and finds a woman. And he, still is a caveman. So he's like, this is my mate. And he like basically throws her over his shoulder, carries her back to his cave. She keeps talking and tries to talk to him, but it's all strictly from his point of view. So we have to try and use inference and context clues to figure out like how she's really feeling about certain situations and things. And it's just, oh, it is so incredibly good. And I absolutely love that like she talks and so he's like, it's giving me a headache. And like she does things that we understand, that he's like, my mate is strange, but that's okay. I still love her. Like, it's so sweet. And then he worries that if they ever find any other tribe to join, that she's gonna drive them crazy.
And he's obsessed with making babies.
Yes, because that's like his sole purpose is that they need to mate. But he is so sweet and kind and loving to her. Yeah. Like it is so incredibly good.
You can tell from the beginning that she is not from his time period.
Yes. Yeah. He like talks about like her strange clothes and like he's very perplexed and like her shoes like drive him nuts. He's like the strange feet coverings. She keeps tripping. I've got to get these off of her.
I love that book. And it is, I've read another book by Shay Savage as well. And it's, surviving something storm, something, it's got the word storm in it. And it is also told completely from the hero's point of view. And at first, when I first started reading, Transcendence, I was actually listening to it and I was like, when am I going to get her point of view? What is this? This is weird. And then I realized it was all from his point of view and I didn't know how I felt about that. But by the end of the book, yeah,
I
I
actually
was
thought
so
it kind of
scared.
added to it because, like, while there were times where I'd be like, I'd love to know what she's thinking, it
Mhm.
kind of kept us in the dark, like Ed.
Yeah.
So he does learn how to, they have name sounds. So he can say his name sound, which basically is like Ed. And then her name is Elizabeth, and he can't even get close to that. So he ends up basically calling her Bay. And then he learns kiss and love, but it's more like
Is
loves.
Lufts with F's
Yeah.
and
So he learns
Kiz.
a couple things, which are just really, really sweet. And I don't think this is a spoiler. You said this is one of the only books that's ever made you cry.
Yes.
And I'm reading through waiting, and I'm thinking like something's gonna happen and I'm gonna cry.
Mhm.
And then there's something that happens, and I'm like, oh, this, I know why Jessica cried during this. And I'm like, I've got this. And I keep reading, and all of a sudden I'm like,
It hits you
oh
because you
my
were wrong. That wasn't it. It was
God.
still coming.
Yes,
Was
that's where
not
we're
what
going.
you expected. It came later.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was a good cry.
Yes, it was a very good book.
Yeah, it was
Like,
very.
so good. Like I said, it's in my favorites.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Very different, which sometimes I think is like what I need. Like, I know we talk about palette cleansers, but I think sometimes just a book that's so totally different
Mhm.
is really good. Because I was in like this rut where I just kept reading like the same thing over and over again, and I was getting tired of, I'm on birth control.
Yeah,
Oh, I was in the
it's
antibiotic. Surprise.
woohoo. I know it's fun to try something different. Like it's scary, but it's fun to try something different, and it tends to work. So,
Yes. All right.
speaking of something different,
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, so the next book I read was Betrayed by the Pack, and it's by Layla Sparks. So this is like the third or fourth book in this series. They can be read as standalones, but this is an Alpha Omega verse book. This is about Vanessa. She did something in the previous book, which I really don't. I mean, I kind of know because I didn't read it, but it doesn't really matter. She was kind of the bad person. She made some bad decisions, and she was pregnant at the time with the like king's baby, the king pack people that run everything, their baby. So they put her in the dungeons until she gave birth, and then they were going to put her up for the Omega auction and auction her off to somebody to buy her to be their woman. And she fled. She got out of the dungeons and she fled, and she had her baby, and now she is in the everyday human world. I think she was somewhere in the South. And this pack of alphas find her, and they're like, wait a minute, you need to go back. So they take her back, and then all heck breaks loose. So that's what it was. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I want to go back and read the other ones, but I don't know that I want to do it because she was naughty in the other ones, and this was kind of like her redemption arc. So I don't know.
All right.
See, different.
Tough choices.
Oh yeah.
Okay, ready for mine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so of course my next book had to be the novella that goes after the first book. So this is Luffs, Luffs. So it's his way of how he said love or loves. And this is obviously by Sage Savage. This was another 5-star read for me. So a while ago, I read Cora Riley's Luca and, what's the first one? Bound by Love?
Honor.
Bound by Honor. And I read those simultaneously because I absolutely loved like seeing Luca's point of view as I was reading the book. So when I discovered Luca's book, I read them together, and I absolutely loved that experience. And so while I was reading this, you had said, wait until you're done. And I was like, oh, but would I like to hear her point of view? Because this is all Elizabeth's point of view. So I'm like, would I like to see her point of view as I'm reading? But I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because while it is her point of view, it skips around quite a bit. And I feel like not that communication piece for us being like kind of in Ed's position is really quite good. And then I will say, I love the novella, but there were times where I was like, but wait, why didn't you tell us like this part from her point of view and different things? And so anyways, it was still really, really good. I absolutely loved it. It just wouldn't work to read in tandem, I don't think. I think it
Exactly.
would really take away from the other book.
And I think there were other people, I've seen other reviews where they've said, why didn't you tell us about this part or that part? And she'd said, because it just wanted to be a novella. She just wanted to give us, it was a little bit extra. And it wasn't where she wanted to write a whole second book from Bestie.
Yeah, and she actually wrote it several years later as like a special little treat to kind of like go back and revisit. So I totally get her take on that.
Yeah, I do too. So, okay, so my next read, I just needed something. I don't know. We've been talking about this book a lot lately. If you've watched any of our videos, you know that this is mine and Mandy's like top reads ever. So this is The Surviving Trace by Kalia Reed. This is what I would call an epic romance, because even though it spans 3 books, so this is a trilogy, no matter how many times I read this, the feelings are there. And so I did a reread. I actually listened to it this time. And the whole time I'm listening to it, I was like, I love this couple. Like, all the emotions are still there, even though this is like my 8th time rereading this book. So this is a time travel romance. This is about ATN and Serene. Serene is from our time, and she travels back to the early 1900s. And when she gets there, she's at a ball like that's being held at their plantation house, and everybody knows who she is, but she doesn't know who anybody is. Come to find out, she's married to ATN. He is the oldest brother that runs this plantation house, and he's married to Serene, but it's not this Serene. It's Serene from his time, and she's a complete bitch to him. And so they don't have the best marriage. She gets him to believe her fairly quickly that she's from the future, because the Titanic sinks, and she is able to do that. But the way they fall in love, and yes, okay, so technically there is cheating because she is engaged in whatever, but they fall in love, and it's just, but all their choices affect the future. And
I would say that while you say there is technically cheating, she is now in a completely different time.
Yes.
She's stuck there. Like,
yes. She doesn't know if she'll go back or when she'll go back.
Yeah.
She's trying to go back. And she's been there for a while, and she's falling in love with this guy who is technically her husband. So, the story, like, if you guys don't ever take anything away from this, just read these books. Like I've said before,
you will thank us.
You will thank us. I would rather read these over Outlander any day. It's epic. Their story, I never get tired of it. There's a few things that, like, I reread books quite often, and I'll skip certain chapters. Nope, not on this one. I love it so much. So much.
You've gone way over your time.
But it's Surviving Trace. It's The Surviving Trace. So guys, go read it. If you do read it, tell us. We want people to talk to about it. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Go.
All right. Okay, so my next book is called Call Me Maybe by Cara Bastone. This is actually an Audible original, so I listened to it on Audible. If you are an Audible member, it is free. She has 3 books in this series, which I really, really enjoy listening to. They're a lot of fun. It's pretty low drama, but still plot, and it keeps you interested. So this one is about Vera. She is trying to launch her website for basically like a date in a box, a company that she has started, and she has this convention coming up, and she has to have the website ready, and it's just not working for her. So she calls customer service, and it's a newer company, and she knows this. Her brother recommended it. So she calls customer service, and she talks to Cal, and they spend 8 hours on the phone together trying to fix her website. And they really kind of, if you spend 8 hours talking to somebody, you're going to start to like have some sort of a friendship there. And that's basically how their relationship, if you will, starts. And it was a lot of fun to listen to. There's definitely plot and deeper things going on. It's not just like a customer service call story.
Okay. And was that an Audible short or just an Audible original?
It's an Audible original. I think its full length is 6 hours if you listen to it at regular speed.
Okay. So then my next book is one of our Meet Cute box mystery stack books that I got for the first Meet Cute box that I got. So this is Happenstance by Tessa Bailey. I was really excited about this because it's reverse harem, and she talked a lot about it on her TikTok page when she got the idea for it. And so I was like, yeah, let's do this. So this is about Elise, and she wants to be a reporter right now. She was like the sandwich girl at at the paper, and she wants to be a reporter, and she has this hunch, and she's following this hunch. And so she is on Roosevelt Island following this hunch, and she has to go home. And so she gets on the tram, like it's a cable car, because they're up in the air. And the cable car loses power, and they get stuck. And so she's on this cable car with these 3 guys. So one of them is Banks, and he is a rugby player, like a world famous rugby player, which she has no clue about. The other one is Gabe, and he is a construction worker, and just blue collar guy. And then the last one is Tobias, and he's a porn star.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Shush. So so this is their story, and how like they all have this attraction. It is a little on the insta lovey side, kind of. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was cute, but it wasn't like the best thing I've ever read. It was a good palate cleanser. It was fine.
You've really been enjoying Tessa Bailey lately. I don't think a day goes by where I don't get a new TikTok from you about her.
Yeah, I like her TikToks, but I've only ever read 2 of her books. So, she's fun to watch.
Okay, so my final book, Jessica, is my final 3 books of the week, because it's the trilogy, and we were going to kind of talk about this together a little bit, because you've read 2 from the trilogy.
Yes.
So this is my read from Convincing My Bestie.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've just read book 2 this week, right?
No, I finished 1 and 2 this week.
Okay.
Both of them were technically this week. They're in this week's wrap up.
Okay, you didn't talk about it last week? Okay, so I'm just thinking of the Convincing My Bestie.
Just because we filmed it when we were together last weekend.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the third storm, the final storm, and After the Storms are the 3 books in the trilogy by Liz Hambleton.
Mm-hmm.
I had this is a 4.5 star for me.
I gave 5s. I love these tropes. It's post-apocalyptic. It's my bread and butter. I love it.
Yeah. So this is Rowan and her nephew's Blue.
Well, it's Baloo.
Baloo.
Bo and Lewis, and so she calls him Baloo.
Baloo, yes.
Like from the Jungle Book.
And so what got me is you told me that they're going to the ship, and she gets passage on this ship by her ex-fiance. And on their way, they find this man laying in a ditch, and they take him with them because the boys are like, we can't leave him. He has to come with us.
He's unconscious and injured.
Yeah, so they take him to the ship. And so what you had said is they're like, then he has to pretend to be your husband. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like how crazy is that? That could have been the whole story for me, is that they're now like this family of 4 trying to live together and pretend that they're married so that they can try and survive this, like with all these storms.
Because they had to
wiping out the earth.
Right. All these storms wiping out the earth. And when Dean got her passage on the ship, it was for a person who had passed away that they didn't know. She was retired military who had 2 kids and a husband. So she could have gotten on just her and the 2 kids and said the husband died. But since she found this guy, she said, this is my husband. So they have to portray that. They have to be that family.
Yes. But that's really not what this book is about at all.
No, there's other stuff.
No, there's so much other stuff going on. So that's like a little tiny, tiny snippet that maybe covers just a handful of pages. Mm-hmm. And so it's very insta-lovey in that situation. But the book is basically like the trilogy is basically surviving all these storms. And it totally reminded me of The Walking Dead because, well, there's no zombies or anything like that. And The Walking Dead, what I really think the biggest takeaway from The Walking Dead for me is that really the zombies are not the concern in like the end of world times. It's the other people.
The other people.
And, like, who do you trust? Sometimes you can bring people into your group and they're going to benefit the group and you're going to be able to help them and they're going to help you. And then other times there's just power hungry, crazy psychos out there. Mm-hmm. And that is totally what happens in this book is not the storms that really they need to be fearing. It's the other people.
It's the other people. And that's a huge that's a huge part of post-apocalyptic.
This is definitely more of a mystery with smut.
I like the romance. The thing is they explain it away, the Insta, because it was a little on the Insta-y side, but it's explained is that they're living in these tight quarters. You don't know who you can trust, and you only have each other, and so it happens quickly because you can only trust each other. But then, can you trust each other?
Mm-hmm.
So Insta love doesn't normally work for me, but in this instance, it does. So I loved it.
It was very good. It's just not at all what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yes, it was very good.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend the trilogy.
Yes.
You have to go into it knowing you need to read all 3 books, though. They're definitely
because
cliffhanger at the end.
Mm-hmm. And if I hadn't had the rough week that I did, I would have had them all done. But you know, I had some other stuff going on. Okay, I have one more book.
That's all for me.
Okay, I have one more book.
Ready?
No, hold on. I closed my book for some reason with my notes. I don't know why I would do that. Makes no sense.
You're weird.
Okay. I know. All right. Okay, I'm ready.
Ready?
Yeah. Okay, so I read One Look by Lena Hendricks. This is the one that I got at Love in Seattle. What are you laughing at?
I'm not.
Oh, what was that noise?
I turned a page in my book.
Oh, it sounded like you were going, like it was weird. Okay, so anyhow. Okay, One Look by Lena Hendricks. So I got this at Love in Seattle last week. I get to meet the author and got this. And she got me because it said it was a single dad. And he's a retired NFL player. And then the trope, it'll fit. And I was like, yes. All right, sure.
He's a 10, but.
He's a 10, but. So this is about Wyatt, and he is the single dad. He's just not with the mom. The mom doesn't have custody. He has full custody of his little girl. And then Lark is the heroine of the story. I love that Wyatt calls his daughter, whose name is Penny, he calls her Pickle, which is what our youngest one's nickname is Pickle as well. But anyhow, they meet at a funeral. Lark is paid to come to the funeral and be a mourner and like a crier at the funeral. And so it's a very small town. He hires her on as his assistant and kind of nanny-ish. After a while, he's a coach for a college because he's retired from the NFL to take care of his kid. So I gave it 4 stars. I loved the story. The guy can dirty talk, let me tell you what. But it was cute. It was kind of like that mix of all the tropes. So, and yeah, small town too. So I like that. It was cute. So
that's our week.
That's our week. Okay, so thanks guys for watching.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Find us over on Instagram, like and follow us there, and check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us right here.
Right here
on this channel.
On this channel. And we'll see you guys in the next video.